I've pointed at a lot of stuff behind me. It's like,
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, my little family. Dog's dead though, but that family's great. You know, like
I've been telling my kids the only reason we have a dog is if things get really bad, we could eat him. They don't.
That's a great idea.
Bree's like, we'd never do that. I'm like, no, we absolutely would. If things got really bad, we had no other choice. We're eating Lucky.
oh wow, that's aggressive.
I don't want to. It's not like I want to eat the dog.
Yeah, but I get it. I mean, dog, kids, gonna go with the dog.
Choose the dog. I mean, there's more meat. There's more meat on the kids, but you're definitely eating the dog.
By the way, do you guys hear that there's like a new Naked Gun movie coming out?
Yes, with
Liam
Neeson.
That's awesome.
I know.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to say Liam Nielsen as well, just because of Leslie
It's
Nielsen.
not Nielsen.
Neeson.
Neeson.
Liam Neeson. Because no, I literally did the same thing yesterday. I told my wife, I was like, "Is Leslie Nielsen Liam Neeson's dad?" And she's like, "Say that slower." I was like,
It's pronounced Nissan. Liam
Neeson.
Neeson.
But anyway, I'm really excited for that because I think that is just so funny. But I thought of that because just like that wordplay, there was like the guy Leslie Nielsen went to this boxer and was like, "Do you think you can beat the champ?" He goes, "I could beat him blindfolded." He goes, "What if he wasn't blindfolded?"
That should be good.
Anyway, I'm excited for that.
I'm surprised he's been able to get age and stay the hero in all the movies. Right? Usually, as an actor, when you age, they turn you into the villain.
Oh. Yeah, speaking
Good
of which, I
observation.
had like 4 people yesterday in church make some comment about me being old. Like, and I was like, "Oh, I am old." I'm like, you know, because I was talking to this couple. I was like, "Oh, you've been married for 10 years too?" They're like, "Yeah, but like we got married really young, not like you guys." Okay.
Thanks for the advice.
How old are you, Zach?
How old am I?
Yeah.
Are we the same age? I'm like 39.
Not anymore. Yeah, I'm the oldest one here.
Wait,
Grandpa, right?
when did you turn 40?
Like a month ago or
12
something.
days ago.
Oh, yeah.
12
Wait,
days ago.
Did we not even like announce? That's not even in my calendar.
Yeah, well,
It's not in my
I
calendar.
mean, when's your birthday? I don't have yours in my calendar.
I kick off Black History Month.
Wait,
How
I don't
come
know
you
what
can
month
say
that
that?
is.
it just happened?
February.
Yeah, February 1st. It's what do you mean I can't say that? That's just a true fact. It's not a matter of opinion.
I didn't say you can't say it. I just said I don't know.
I said you can't say it.
You can say it.
I'm gonna take Black History Month. Jerk.
No, I just kick it off. I'm
I'm
like
just-
I'm all about it.
I just
Look,
kick it
I'm
off.
full send
Is-
Aquarius, man.
Is Scott not on this
No, he's
this
not.
episode? Oh,
No, didn't
Love
you
that
see
guy.
his message yesterday?
I didn't.
Come
I
on, Brett.
actually refuse to go forward without him. So
Yeah, I'm going on strike.
Out. All right, you guys
Just
ready? We got a bunch of topics today, and we'll.
Well, good, because I don't know what they are.
All right, here we go.
So excited.
Welcome to another episode of Cereal for Lunch, where we scroll through Twitter so you don't have to. On today's menu, we've got some hot topics. The browser wars are here. This podcast, speaking of which, is kind of like your browser history. It's terrifyingly revealing, occasionally brilliant, and definitely not something you want your investors seeing. I'm your host, Zach Ask AI Oates, with Brandon Clicks RLI right, Chad 404 Filter Not Found Ingram, and Brett ranked number 1 on TikTok search Larson. The internet has just entered its browser war 2.0 moment. And spoiler alert, guys, Google might not win. OpenAI's got a new browser. Gen Z searching on TikTok for dinner ideas. Everything is changing fast. And today we're talking pivots, platforms, and the end of the blue link economy. But let's start off with founder therapy here. Let's talk about some pivots. Every founder has had that moment, right? Where you're staring at your metrics, you're praying for one of those lines to move, and you're just wondering, is it time to pivot or is it time to push through? And so open question here. What's the difference between a pivot and a panic?
Meaning you want to change your entire business model? I mean,
Yeah,
I
like,
think pivot.
How do you know when it's time to do that, Brett?
I mean, here's the thing. I think if you've gotten to a certain level of ARR, there's certain stages of business, and as a CEO, I mean, one of the most difficult parts is you got to be watching the market. You got to be watching your customers. You got to be, I mean, you have to be able to see ahead of a couple of curves to try to keep your business on track. And in the business growth game, I feel like there's the innovation period where you build something and you're looking for product market fit, and then you're shifting into operations where you're trying to double down on that product market fit. Like when the market's telling you, yes, we want this, we'll buy it, and they're buying it faster and faster. I think the hardest times come, and both of those are hard in their own ways, but the most difficult is when you feel like you've found it and then something changes or you don't change and the business hits a stalling point. Brandon and I sat down with a good buddy a year and a half ago. And as we listened to, he'd hit a plateau. He'd gotten to like 2.5, 3 million and just kind of flatlined. And he wasn't growing. He wasn't really shrinking. And Brandon pointed out, he was like, I think there's a skill set gap that you need to develop. And it's really hard. As builders, we're good at building. And the skill set gap that a lot of founders have that I've seen over and over again is like evolving into a leadership skill set. And so back to your question, the pivot or panic, I think pivots come from panic, and you've got to really look at the underlying data and understand, is the market just telling me this business is fundamentally wrong, or have I not found the right growth channels? Or, I mean, there's a bunch of questions that come behind that.
I disagree a little bit. I think just to
Not allowed.
I agree.
Not allowed with Lord Brett. Can't disagree here, Chad.
I think that
He
think
started
that,
this podcast. We would be nothing without him.
That's not true.
No, I think that the pivot versus panic, the way that you said that almost implied that the pivot is due to panic. And I feel like they're different situations, because if you're pivoting, like if you're starting to come up with solutions that might look like a pivot because of panic, you're done. If you are like following the user journey, if you're following points of value in your product, if you're listening to customers, you naturally kind of pivot. Like distro, and Jump was the same. Like we found moments of like most successful startups in most cases, and I would say all of us have experienced this, are not the first version of what we thought we were doing when we set out the problem. So I kind of look at it a little bit differently.
Okay.
If you're panicking, you're going to see you're going to start making fear-based decisions, I feel like, versus like a conscious.
Well, and
I think.
wait, by the way, just to be clear, to double down on that, Chad, Clayton Christensen talks about how 93% of successful startups or successful businesses have had a major pivot. So, all right, go ahead, Brandon.
Brandon, your business did make a pretty big pivot.
Yeah, we feel like you have to take a real hard look. Like there is a level of panic. I think like that is the catalyst, right? Because if you don't have that, you're just going to continue on doing what you were doing before. And so what is that? Like some catalyst, you're running out of money. That's a big one, right? Or if you aren't making any money, you're not bringing in an income, that's the early days. I feel like it's maybe easier to pivot to just because you don't have a whole lot. And one of the things that I like to say to early founders is you need to fall in love with the problem, not your solution to the problem. Because if you're in love with your solution to the problem, you're never going to pivot and find product market fit. But if you're early and you're trying to solve a problem, you're going to do what Chad says, right? You're going to listen to customers. You're going to try and dig in and truly understand their problem. You're going to build something for that. I think the pivot is really hard once you have something and you have some traction. I think it was Brett, you were talking about that a little bit, right? That's where it's like, okay, now do we pivot? Because the numbers just aren't, they were moving, but now they're not. Or do we just stay the course and kind of ride out the wave? That's the tough one for me that I'm.
How did you guys,
the answer to.
when you did pivot, was it Giftry or was that yours, Zach?
Yeah.
No,
you pivoted
we
from
both
Giftry.
had the same
Giftry.
exact journey.
You know, sometimes I confuse you guys. I'm like, wait, am I
know, I
talking?
do too.
It's because of my nice hair. Like I can understand the confusion.
You guys both have such
Yeah.
nice teeth. When you did pivot, what was the catalyst for that? What made you
I mean,
realize-
that one was definitely, we were running out of money, and we had been trying, we had some growth, but like from a revenue perspective, we just weren't making any money, and we weren't growing fast enough to continue to live off the good graces of investors. And so I was just looking ahead, and I'm like, there is a date where this ends, and I don't see a path with what we're currently doing to get to where we need to be to extend that date out. And it was exactly what we were talking about. I just dug deep into customers and what their problems were around this topic, this idea, and or around this concept. And when I really dug in and started listening to their problems for potential customers, that's when we
jump
found a
in?
solution.
Can I jump in and then he can keep going? Because I have this story in detail on my podcast. No instructions. Go listen to it. I think Brandon's
Episode
actually
1,
the
by the
first
way.
episode.
Episode
So
1.
it's a little
No
rocky from
instructions.
my side. But here's some like interesting factoids that I'd like to point out. This man right here was potentially at the end of his rope and goes out door to door in person to go get this data. He goes guerrilla style into these stores and talks with owners one by one, and then tells them, all right, you have this problem. I think you're experiencing this problem. Goes through the whole process, then goes back and says, well, if we could build that for you, will you buy it? And they say, yes. That's his first revenue. It's awesome. The fact that he didn't just kind of wait around and hope a connection played out. Like they
Didn't you
went
build
and
in
made
like
it
a
happen.
week too. The MVP you launched in like a week. Man, you're a superhero. Well,
Yeah.
hold on,
Yeah.
Brandon. Did you have those customers in your current, like in the other businesses or business models customer base? Like how did you decide to go to high end retailers?
So yeah, yes and no. I mean, one of them, yeah, we had signed up on this previous idea that we were working on, but we hadn't made a single dollar from them yet because it was this idea, and they're like, yeah, this sounds great. We'll take this, but then it was like, well, we couldn't really launch with them or anything. And so when I came back to them after having done all these interviews with people, they said, yeah, we'll do, this is a lot better. And where do we sign? We'll sign a contract right now. And then we rushed home, my co-founder and I, and built what we had told them we had just to get it into their hands.
Were you still living in Spain at the time?
No, that was here. I mean, I was here in Utah. And but yeah, I mean, like Chad said, we went over it in detail on his podcast. Shameless plug, and he's not even paying us for the sponsorship right now, but
Oh, he will. Oh, he will.
it's
I never pay. I won't do it.
Well,
It
if
felt-
you're CPM,
it does
Joe, it's like
it feel,
30
does
cents.
feel different though, because like we started having customers pull us, like that customer where we had that customer before, except we hadn't made a single dollar. They were in no rush to roll out what we had, and then all of a sudden it shifted, and they're like, "Here's our credit card number. Like, give it to us and charge us." And that was really the only one. Like, we didn't really have a lot of these other customers. I mean, I just started walking into places, and I knew our customer was going to be kind of retail and high-end retail, and so that's where I was. You have to narrow it down. You can't just take the ocean and say, I'm sure there's a problem in here somewhere, right? Like, you had to narrow it down somewhere. And so for me, I was putting guardrails on, okay, who's our customer going to be, and what type of problem are we going to try and solve, which was helping them understand who their customers were and what their customers loved and how to sell more to their existing customers, build those relationships with their customers. I knew it was around that.
Did you guys have revenue at Giftry when you did you already have revenue? Were you guys?
We had a little bit, but it was very small.
Yeah. How big was the team?
There was 4 of us.
And did you, by the way, so did you reincorporate? Like, did you completely change everything, or did you like just start building a new product?
We just started building a new product.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that Client Book. I didn't realize that it started off as the gifting company and then it turned into Client Book. Got it.
Yep.
Because so yeah, because my gifting company was like a few years earlier, has nothing to do with Ovation at all. Like not even a pivot into it. But I think that like at the end of the day, when you're looking at things, it's like I think the big word that you talked about, Brandon, is pull. And if you are not getting that pull from the market, then you probably need to pivot, because you're not solving something well enough, and the world doesn't need another thing. The world needs you to build value. And if you're not building value, and people vote with their wallets, if you're not building value, then build something that is, because you're going to spend the same amount of time building a company that is going to go out of business in 2 years as you are building a company that's going to change the world. It's going to cost you the same amount of time. The difference is, one, you feel fulfilled. The other, it just like is a hose sucked from your heart, draining onto the floor. And it just like every day is a painful, slow death. And you might as well, if you're going to do that, just go work in a cubicle and get health insurance. So I bring that up to say, like, if you think you need to pivot, really look at talking to your customers, understanding that problem is what I'm hearing. And that's what I've experienced as well. It's like, you got to get to the root of it. But I feel like you should always have a healthy sense of panic as being a CEO. And that panic is because you are, like Brett said, seeing around the corner and you're seeing what's coming, and you should be a little bit panicked at all times that your team might not see as well as you do. So they're not going to be as active as you are. Oh, and we have a guest. Okay.
Yeah. What does he think about pivoting?
Well, he's really excited about Legos right now.
Who's
right,
not?
Come here. Hey.
So I agree. I don't mean to make such a hard stance on the this pivot concept. There definitely is a constant, steady like fear, always. I mean, I don't know. It's not always fear. Definitely anxiety though, and anxiety is probably mostly out of fear. But I think that what I picture in this problem are the founders you see that just keep trying new things and literally out of desperation. Yeah. And honestly, their first concept, like I could think of a few, in our own community that just really never took, and they were just chasing this and then chasing that and chasing that in like totally different directions. And those, I see that they're doing out of desperation and lack of experience and that sort of thing. So that's really what I kind of see there. If you're doing it purely out of fear, then I just don't. I think there's a high likelihood it doesn't take.
Yeah,
to me that feels like they're not doing it out of fear. They're doing it because they're chasing the shiny new object, right? Yeah. You do have to give it enough time to bake, right?
Yeah.
So you can't just be like, you work out of a co-working space and then those people. They're just the ones that are always testing something new.
That's literally where they all are.
Yeah. And that's what they love. They love the social aspect, the community of
they love. I've met people who love being entrepreneurs a lot more than they love doing entrepreneurial stuff, right? And I think that the key is, Chad, as we were talking, you're talking about like the, staying. Wait, what'd you say? You said being something about
anxious or fearful.
Oh, that's right, fearful. You don't want to act out of fear, and basically the thing that I always tell people is that in startups, you got to stay alive and excited long enough to get lucky. And the excited part, I think, is why people keep trying new things, is because they're excited about the problem. They're excited about making someone's life a little bit better, excited about changing their corner of the world. And if you're excited about that and you could keep, to Brandon's point, that problem that your customer has first and forefront in your mind, and you're excited about solving that, then hey, then your job is to make sure you don't run out of money. And eventually, if you have money and you stay excited, there will come a point that you will get lucky, and not like everything is all of a sudden easy, but there's a certain amount of luck in startups that I think that we often undervalue. But I do want to move on to the browser wars, unless there's any final comments about as our friend Ross from Friends says, pivot.
I'll just say, like Brandon's point, fall in love with the problem, and maybe not even love with, but like maniacal focus on the problem, because there's 17 ways to solve that problem, and if you can nail the way that your customers resonate with the biggest, not like I think a lot of people fall in love with their platform or with the brand but if you can solve the problem, you tend to be able to make your way towards product market fit.
Yeah. I just fall in love with you guys, this group of guys.
Love you too, Zach.
All right. Speaking of group chats, the browser wars. They're here, guys. OpenAI is launching its first browser. In fact, the other day I went on to ChatGPT and I said, "Are you launching a browser?" And it said, "No." And I said, "Are you sure?" And it said, "Okay, yes." And I was like, thanks. It was really weird. But is this the end of browsing as we know it, or is this another glorified plugin? Because AI browsers, they have this thing that they call clickless searches, and that is increasing more and more and more. Because how often is it now? Even on Google, you go to Google, you type in a question, and it'll pop up the answer up top through Gemini. It's not gonna, and it doesn't actually, you're not clicking around links. This is an agent first internet. And so what do you think? Is this a plugin, or is this a redefinition of browsing as we know it?
I think it puts browsing away. I mean, like the whole value that these large language models have brought is the answer, right? And so what value, I mean, you could argue there is value, but what value have we received by scouring the first top 10 results on Google? Most of us maybe go to the first 2 anyway. And if these agentic browsers can now browse, find the answer based on what it knows about your preferences, and just take the action, book the trip, bring you options for you to decide, I think it's just getting the user one step closer to the outcome that they're actually looking for.
It's interesting. I had just listened to another podcast about the story of Google, right? And it was talking about in the early days how search engines, their business model was banner ads. So they wanted you to stay on their website as long as possible. So for them, having the best response, the best answer to your query at the very top wasn't beneficial to their business model, because they made less money. And then Google kind of switched it, and now you're paying per ad that pops up on the search engine, and they were so maniacally focused about saying, okay, when someone searches, we want to give them the best result right at the top. And if AI can do that even better, then yeah, people are going to switch away from Google. And if you have a browser, the other interesting point they made about Google is the reason why Google wants a browser, why Google wants Gmail, why Google wants all these things is because then the users are logged in, and Google is able to get all this information, all this data about the users to serve them better ads and serve them better responses in Google search. And so if you're an AI browser, people are going to be logged in. You're going to get more data about that user, which is what AI is all about. And it actually drives, in Google's case, it would drive higher ad revenue. If you can give them a better result, you're going to get more revenue from the ads. So it was like actually driving up the revenue they were making.
But what's the revenue model here, right? With no clicks and with no like banner ads on home
Well,
pages?
these browsers are doing agent tasks. That's the purpose of these browsers, right?
Here's the revenue model. Well, there's a couple, but I don't think this one is actually going to serve the user's actual desire. You bid to be the solution the agent goes to, right? Like I would tell.
No, that's not going to work, Brett. No one's going to, because then I'm not going to trust it.
No,
right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I said I don't think it works that way.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because the
Sorry,
users act
I didn't mean
well,
to like jump all over you on that one.
calm down. The user's like, well, I don't want to fly in United. I want to fly in Delta.
Said everyone, everywhere, all the time.
Would you like me to book you a window seat at United?
No, I'd rather not be yelled at while I'm getting on the plane. Thank you. But I do think it gets people closer to the user intent. It is. I'd rather just have what I want versus.
Well, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, right? Like the AI that will win is the one that knows everything about me.
Yeah.
And so if they're using a browser, if OpenAI has a browser and knows every website I'm going to, knows everything I'm trying to do, every ticket I've ever bought. I mean, airline tickets is the one we're talking about right now because that's the one that seems to work right now. But like, imagine just anything. Like if it's doing it all for you, knows everything about you, they're gonna win. And this is a industry, a market that is unlike probably anything that we've ever seen. And so, you look at Zuckerberg, and Zuckerberg is willing to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts for these top AI researchers. Why? Because he knows it's going to be worth it in the end. Like if they win, it's a winner take all. And
do you think it is a winner take all? Because I mean, like looking at what is going on right now, like just with how fast development is happening, like do you think that it is really like an Amazon scenario, Google scenario, or do you think that in the next world, like Google's monopoly is breaking up and the internet is splintering into apps and agents and ecosystems, and this big blue box isn't the only game anymore? But like but the real question is, like, looking to the future, if my mom isn't going to google.com to Google, what is she going to where to go search for what? And I think that for like the boomer gen, I think it's going to be very, very hard for them to get off of Google. I don't think boomers are ever going to do that.
That's true. There are still some old people that use rotary phones, right? Like there's going to be some lagging people, but I think there's a couple things to look at. My opinion is that Google has likely already lost. I mean, how many times in the last few months have you gone to Google, who uses its own Gemini model, but they're trying to take a helpful AI model and stuff it into an old user experience, and it's horrible. So when you look at the helpfulness of an answer you ask Google via Gemini on, Google search, it is just like significantly less helpful than just going directly into OpenAI. So I believe that they have already lost, and that we're going to continue to see this. And they had a chance to do it. And what they should have done was allowed users to toggle back and forth to a totally different UI. And because they're stuck in this framework, like think about it. When Google came out, Google basically said, like, we're all old enough to where we had as children like a library card that was like laminated. You'd take that to the library, and then you'd go look for something to research for school. And how'd you do that? You literally pulled out one of those stupid long drawers with index cards, right? Hated those drawers. And you literally flip through indexes. And in most cases, these indexes were old enough that they were handwritten. Okay. That was the old library experience. That Google is the digitization of that. And it became extra good when it was able to auto index, and then when it was able to use an algorithm to evaluate relevancy, right? So those results are based on relevancy. And the point is that at lightning speed, their results have become less and less relevant. So I think that the model that they're stuck to, not the AI model, but this model, this user experience that they're stuck to of a traditional search page, it takes me a minute to find what I'm looking for, where AI takes me, granted, a little bit longer to instruct than searching a phrase. It is a little bit longer, but the results are significantly faster. And then it tells me at the end, what would you like me to do for you with this information? I think that it's lost.
And I think, go ahead, Brett.
As I say, I'll say where I think Google still has an opportunity. They have the laggards, right? Like the early adopters have started using the like ChatGPT, Perplexity. Because I find myself maybe once or twice over the last few months accidentally just typing a question into the browser bar and then getting like a Gemini answer at the top, and every single time the answer I got makes me want to ask another question, which is what happens in ChatGPT as well.
Yeah.
I just don't have a mechanism to now do that in Google. I think where Google has an opportunity, and they've lost 25% of their search traffic since the beginning of the year, they still have 75% of it. It's still the world's largest search.
Certainly.
engine. So if they could actually introduce that experience and get away, break themselves away from the boon business that is ads in search and provide that to the laggards, they could retain those users. They won't.
Yeah,
And
that's
by the way,
what you just described is super unsexy though. Like, hey, let me take the oldest user group possible and then keep them as long as I can until they die. That's the alternative.
To bring users back if you've been able to do that. And
possibly
they have more consolidated data about, Google, Apple, Meta, they have more consolidated, to Brandon's point, like the real value of this becomes when it knows me and I don't have to explain my intent because it understands my preferences and the way I think about things and the way I speak. And like Google has that. And so if it could flip itself quickly, I think they could bring, and like, I don't think they will, by the way. I think they're getting in their own way, but I think
there is a way out, but I think it's very unlikely. I mean, they are taking some of our data out of our email, but what are they going to do? Like try to build a profile on me based on all the crap I'm subscribed to that I buy every week. You know what I mean? Like it's just, and there's,
100%.
No, how many things are we subscribed to that we get junk mail on? Stupid stuff. Like I bought my wife a gift at somewhere 4 years ago. Are they going to start telling me I should buy more purses?
No, but now they know, like around that time, that there's an event that you celebrated your wife for.
Okay, compared to what alternative?
If you like
OpenAI,
you might like these other things, right?
Yeah, that's super cute. That's like 10 years ago searching based on I had a conversation with OpenAI for a whole day and it knows how I feel. But if it knows whether I'm frustrated, like look at the alternative.
So Google's definitely taken some lumps. I completely agree, but they're not going to go quietly. I mean, they just acquired Windsurf, right?
Yeah.
And they took that from OpenAI. They took it out from
because they had more cash, probably.
Exactly. Like OpenAI is like what we're all using right now, like ChatGPT. But you've got Google, you've got Meta, you've got, even Apple. If they ever decide that they want to get serious about it, like you've got all these companies.
Tim Cook's taking over product.
Geez, that's probably exactly.
And we got Apple Vision Pro 2.
But like these guys, they're putting everything into it. And back to Zach's point, I do think it's winner take all. Like right now, like all we've talked about is ChatGPT, and it's because we've put enough data into ChatGPT that it knows us the best. Like, is it the best model? No,
Grok 4 is, right?
Grok 4 apparently might be the best model.
Best anti-Semitic
but they don't have the best
model,
distribution channel yet, right? Like, so it's about getting the user closer to the answer that they began questioning.
It's exactly why we started this founder therapy session about pivoting, because the whole thing is like we need to focus on problems. And yesterday, for example, I needed to replace my on my RV, I had to replace the windshield wipers, right? So what did I do? I went to Google and I looked up. You what?
Already?
It's a used one. How well do you think Ovation is doing?
Yeah, Brett.
Pretty good. I've heard your numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are pretty good, actually.
Tell that to my investors. Okay, so I needed to replace it. So I went to Google and I was like, show me a video of it. And it was like a very complicated video. Like, and the problem is that then I went to ChatGPT. I took a picture of it and it was like, oh, there's a little button right here that seems maybe it's stuck. Right. And so it's again that the problem. Or dinner. I could go to Google and find a recipe for cheesesteaks. But when I asked ChatGPT about it, it gave me a recipe based on my stage 3 cow's milk allergy. And I asked it to give me a grocery list sorted by what I like, the aisles that I'm most likely to find things.
Yep.
And
Awesome.
I said, give me a timeline of when I need to do each thing so that dinner
Yep.
could be ready at 5:00 and dessert could be ready at 5:30. And so what am I
And
gonna,
next time, Zach, take a picture of your fridge and pantry, and then tell it to create a recipe based on what you currently have.
Oh, that's a good one.
So here's the thing.
But-
In the middle of cooking, I cut too many apples for my apple crisp. And so I was like, well,
Oh, man.
how do I make the, the cobbler stuff, stretch? And so I was like, so I took a picture of it and then it was like, oh, it looks like you're not too bad. I would add a tablespoon of this, 2 teaspoons of this. Like, and I just made it stretch a little bit, but like that, the whole point that I'm getting at right now, very long-winded way of saying ChatGPT is solving my problems. Google is trying to answer my questions. And if Google is able to get on that train of a conversation, because there is never a time ever where I can ask a question and I don't have a follow-up thing that I want to do. Like if I say, Brett, how do you do your hair? And you tell me, and then I'm like, okay, but do you use what kind of pomade do you use? Like, I'm always going to have a follow-up question. Maybe not for Brandon in that case, but for everyone else, I would. And Google just isn't giving me that. Google is answering my questions, and that's. I don't feel that's enough. But one thing that I want to ask all of you is, what does that mean for us? What does that mean for us as startup founders? Is with things like Perplexity and ChatGPT, they're not just searching a thing; they're also doing things, right? And so is SEO dead? What should our websites be doing? Like, what should we be doing as founders, knowing that the way that people browse has changed?
I'd say like the fundamentals are still the fundamentals. Like you still need to like you're talking about go to market. There's still best practices you should be following, but figure out how you can get these agents to do it for you so you have capacity for other things. And then, but I think the real question is, what does it mean for our businesses? Our products have to get closer to the answer, not the question, right? Like the answer or the question was like, how do I accomplish X? The products need to get closer to accomplishing X for the user, right? To stay in the game, to stay with the curve, with the wave. How do you get your product to answer the question, which is what ChatGPT is doing, not giving you places to go find the answers. And so I think that's the real key, right? Like some of the go-to-market stuff, you could try to insert an agent to talk to a customer. I actually, it's not good enough today that I want a voice model trying to sell me a product, even though I'd like to not be pressured by a real human in some of the ways they do it. But I really think it's about getting to the answer faster for your users. What question are they trying to answer? What problem are they trying to solve? How do you solve it for them, not give them a tool to solve it?
I tend to agree with Brett. I started my career, my first startup was around SEO and a lot of services and products around SEO. And then, Jump actually, my next startup actually became, an automated tool that improved SEO, right? Based on my previous experience. And I agree that the principles will remain the same. That's probably true. But I think that in 5 years or so, it will be completely annihilated. Like there will be a completely,
what does that look
things
like?
Things are moving so fast. Here, I think I said this on a previous podcast, but the rate at which people are accepting and using AI in every way possible is just phenomenal. It's moving faster than people were adopting the internet. And so I don't know what it looks like, but I know that it completely changes. I think that the things we're doing today will be completely different than what we're doing in the future. I think that as a concept, I think that content, like viewable content, more similar to this, will actually play a key role. Keep in mind that this podcast, whether actually published on a website with a transcript or not, can be transcribed via AI, right? So there's a lot, I think, that's going to shift and change based on this content that we're creating. Not just, again, I can go literally create 1,000 blog posts today and have them published tonight. And I can even write a script to have my app do it on WordPress. So, there a lot of things are changing. And because of that, the amount of content that's being published, it reduces its relevancy quickly, very quickly. So anyway, I think it's going to change significantly in a short amount of time.
I think it's fascinating. So I think I have the oldest kids here, and it's fascinating to watch them, right? We used to say, I'm going to go Google it. My kids never say Google it anymore, right? Like at best they say, I'm going to go search it up, right? Or whatever.
Search it up.
Yeah, I'm going to go search it up. But they're going to go ask ChatGPT. Like my son, he drove a friend's four-wheeler, and he is like now enamored with four-wheelers and wants to buy one, and is like doing all this stuff to earn money and sell stuff to be able to get this money for a four-wheeler. And then yesterday, he's like trying to prove how committed he is to this to me. And he pulls up his phone and his ChatGPT conversation that he's been having. He's like, Dad, look at all the research that I've done. And he's like scrolling through it all. He's showing me, and it's hilarious to read it because I don't know if you guys have read teenagers' text messages, but the words
not like, recently, no, not since I was a teenager.
I mean, the way they text to each other these are not real words. Like they take out letters, and it's all like funny. Some form of shorthand and stuff. And yet that's how he's talking to ChatGPT, and it's answering his questions because it knows what he's trying to say. It's pretty wild. But to your point, Zach, you're gonna have these laggards that are still going to go to Google because it's in their browser or because of it's tied into whatever they currently use. But once those people start moving on to the next life or whatever, like it's not going to stick around for much longer. Like my son, he doesn't care about Google. He doesn't use Google. He uses ChatGPT, and it's so much better for what he's trying to do than Google is. And I mean, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, right, you could still build something that is focused on these laggards. You could still like focus on SEO, and you'll get something. I really do think you'll get stuff from it, but I just don't know how much longer. And you really probably need to start thinking about how are we building our website? How are we building our content? How are we building our product for AI, like for computers, not for people, right? It's less about UI and more about structured data and information that you're passing along to the bots.
So I will say yes, and it's not just about the bots though, but it's also about video, because if you look at it, like 40% of Gen Z users use TikTok or Instagram as their search. So when they are searching something, they'll look, they don't go to Google to look for a video. They go to TikTok or Instagram, and even with YouTube Shorts are blowing up. And so as we're thinking about the browser wars, we also need to not eliminate short form video from that conversation. I think long form videos are kind of, I feel like they're going away, but short form videos are crazy. And so it's like, how do we as startups think about effective searchable video content? And like, should we actually, a B2B SaaS company, should we even be on TikTok, or is that more for like restaurants and skincare? Like,
I
what
think
is
you need to be where your customers are. I think your customers are on TikTok. Like I think about work all day long. I think about the problems I'm solving all day long. And the point that Chad made, I don't know that the blog post is dead, but if the LLM is just
Not yet.
reading, well, if the LLM is just reading the content that the LLM created, it's probably smart enough to move on and be like, oh, I created this. I'm not like, I don't need to see it again. But so the quality of content you're producing to gain awareness, I think one, brand becomes more important. Like we have to build brand because that's defensible. People want to connect with, we're seeing data. People want to connect with other people, with other humans, especially when it starts to become easy to replicate. I mean, Veo 3's model, you can't tell those things aren't real people. And so like the real authentic experiences and elevated experiences, meaning it's harder to produce quality video than it is a quality blog post. It takes more effort. What's the next level of content? It's like you're seeing a big revival of live events, right? And people being willing to pay to go to live events. It's really interesting. People want authenticity.
I agree. I think there'll be. I do believe with the advent of all of these like technological advances that there probably will be some like human shift of people. You know, people will either become more reclusive or they will, you know, I don't long for more human interaction. It's going to be really good and really bad, actually, I think.
It was weird. We're in California right now. We went out to walk last night, and there was a hibachi, like a bespoke hibachi grill set up where with this group of people that had paid these chefs to come cook on the beach. And then, 500 yards down the beach, there was like, I don't know, a community group doing like line dancing, country music line dancing. I mean, a year ago, we come here every year. There was no one there at 8, 9 o'clock at night doing that stuff. Like, I think people are actually getting back to craving real human interaction. Like,
well, all I need is a good agent. I don't need any humans. I don't need friends. I love it when I ask a question of like, hey, I feel like, I had this discussion with my son. What should I do next? Wow, Zach, that is a really good question. I love how empathetic and open you are. You know what I mean? Like, man, who needs humans when you have robots that are so empathetic and listening? But anyway, yeah. I'm excited for the future, team. I think that there's a lot of changes happening right now. And today we've talked pivots, browser wars, the slow collapse of the Google empire. And if you're not optimizing for agents, if you're not structuring your data, if you're not thinking multi-platform, if you're not showing up in video, you might already be obsolete. And so focus on the problem, be where your customers are. Love that. Let's stay up to date. Like, subscribe, follow, and as always, cereal for lunch is part of your balanced startup.